Oh, it did quite a good job. There we go. If you know just a moment. That's not bad. Good morning, everybody. It is the 21st of November. My name is Kyle, and we're going to be running through the latest AI news and updates of the week. Basically, this is the week of Google. Google have absolutely knocked it out of the park over the last few days. There have been a few releases, well, quite a few releases actually, from other providers. We've had GPT 5.1 Codex Max. We've had Grok 4.1, and we have rumblings of Opus 4.5 from Anthropic, either coming today or early next week. A huge amount of stuff, like one of the busiest weeks in artificial intelligence ever. But Google have dominated. Grok wish they could dominate, but sadly not for them. So Google have absolutely taken this week and potentially the AI race. I am very bullish on Google all of a sudden. Previously, if you see me on lives in other videos, I've been saying I think Google might be in trouble because they need to turn a massive ship around. They need to replace all of their advertising revenue. That's still a huge issue, but I'm going to talk about why they're in a really good position to do that. So I'm going to dedicate most of this hour or half hour or however long it takes to Google. So I'm going to say the already silly word Google so many times that it's going to become increasingly more meaningless, and I hope that's okay with you. And hopefully I won't have to say Google much next week. So where are we? So Google have just been knocking it out of the park over the whole week. The most recent update, though, and one that I haven't covered yet, is Nano Banana Pro, which is Gemini 3 Pro image. Still not very good at names. Very good. Extremely good. So Nano Banana came out a couple of months ago and it blew everyone's socks off, and it actually led to Gemini for the first time becoming the #1 downloaded application in the iOS App Store. It's the first time that anyone out in the public kind of heard of Google's AI, primarily because of Nano Banana. So they have updated Nano Banana and it's even better. The great thing that it can do now is text. They have nailed the ability to create text inside of images. Previously, that was very much a kind of a giveaway that you would see an image and it would have some garbled text in it. That is no longer the case, and people have been doing some incredibly impressive things, like mocking up whole screenshots of computers, having photos of people holding a telephone, and on that telephone is an article that you've given Nano Banana to put on that telephone, etc., etc. I've been doing my own ones. So for the newsletter that came out this morning, I did a whole comic that I put into the newsletter as well, which basically summarizes all of the different stories. So we have one about Google Gemini not needing NVIDIA's GPUs. We have one about NVIDIA here making money while the companies like OpenAI throw away the cash, but that's fine because NVIDIA is making cash. We have things about the autonomous coding. We have Collins Dictionary Word of the Year being vibe coding, etc. And it managed to nail all of the text. I basically gave it my newsletter text. You can see my newsletter down below here. Make sure you're subscribed if you're not, because this is where you get the updates, and just gave it to it, did not give any additional instruction, said make a comic, and it, boom, just one-shotted it. Really, really cool. So this is something that's always held back the image generators for me. I'm not that interested in AI art, like creating images for the sake of images, creating videos for the sake of it. It's just not something that really interests me, but being able to create graphics, infographics, educational graphics, cartoons, explainers like this with text that is actually legible. Really, really, really cool. So your feed is probably full of Nano Banana Pro generated images right now. I highly recommend you go and check it out. So it's a little bit tricky to get, or people have been trying to work out how to get hold of it. It should now be in your normal Gemini. So if you go into gemini.google.com, even on the free plan, so I've tested it here, this is on the free plan, you're just not going to have much capacity and it will fail. But you can see even here it's managed to do images and it's done pretty well. And then on a paid plan, which is my one over here, you just get more capacity. So I actually used it just to generate an image here to explain the kind of Google ecosystem, the Google AI ecosystem, which I'm going to be using later in this particular live. I'm going to be using this in one of my videos, so I was able to just spin this up. I basically wanted to show the whole vertical stack that Google now control, which includes things like Google Cloud, data centers, TPUs, which is very, very important and people are missing out on it, and then all of the other layers on top of that. So Android, Chrome, etc. at the top, the application layer. Interestingly, they've got Gemini here. Yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, I didn't give it very many details, so it's not bad. And as you can see, it nails the text. If I wanted it to be even more accurate, I would provide it with the text. I'd provide it with the instructions, and then it would be able to do that as well. So you can either get it through gemini.google.com. You can get it on the phone app as well. And finally, you can get it through AI Studio. So Google or aistudio.google.com. This is where you create software using the Google models. So this, what you can see right now, is the playground. It's a temporary chat. You can just mess around with it, basically. However, you can also get an API key, which is down in the bottom left, which allows you to connect to your own pieces of software. And I am, as we speak, let me check my cursor. My cursor is in the background, zooming away, building something for me. It's been building for the last 30 minutes, building the ability to take my newsletters and automatically convert them into cartoons. So it will just grab all the text from the newsletter, send it off to Nano Banana Pro, generate a couple of cartoons for me, bring them back, and then I can choose which one I want to use. I can also cut them into social media content, etc., etc. So I'm building that as we speak, and that should be ready soon. Fair warning, to use Nano Banana Pro in Google AI Studio, you do now need a paid account. You don't need to give them any money, because it's pay as you go, so you pay for each generation basically, but you do need to add a credit card just to even get that API key. So you can see here in temporary chat it says link API key. Nano Banana Pro is only available for paid tier users, so you need to at least connect billing. In terms of how much it costs, I think I have some information about that, but where's it gone? Here we go. It's not cheap. It is not cheap, but it is very good. So this is Philip Schmidt, who works for, I think, AI Studio, no, DeepMind. I get them all mixed up. So it's now available, and it thinks through the prompt, so it can retrieve real-time data such as weather forecasts, stock charts using Google search grounding, and then it generates. So this is the really cool part about it. So this image that I generated here, I basically said, hey, I want to visually demonstrate the AI stack that Google control, from the kind of infrastructure level, the physical hardware, up to the application layer. Can you generate a graphic of that explaining how that works? I did not say, oh, I want you to add in Google search. I did not say, make sure you include JAX and TensorFlow. It worked that out itself. And the way it's done that is by researching first. So Google Gemini Pro will go off and do the research. Very cool. And then it will feed that into your image. Really, really cool. And then what that does mean is it does cost quite a lot of money. So this image, when I generate it via, this is free, well, not free, it's on my paid Gemini account, but if I was to generate it via the API, this would have cost me about 13, what is it? 13 cents. So 13 cents. So not cheap. Especially if you want to generate hundreds of images, suddenly you're going to be starting to stack up a bill. But compared to doing it myself, compared to hiring somebody, it's extremely cheap. So that's a 2K image will be at 13.4 cents per image, American cents. Or if you want a 4K image, it's going to be 24 cents. So a quarter of a dollar per image. 10 different aspect ratios. Integrated Google search allows 14 reference input images. That's cool. I didn't know that. Highly accurate with clear text rendering, so it's extremely good. I'm excited, the internet is excited, and I think there's good reason. So Google are absolutely cooking this week, and I'm going to talk about more Google stuff, but let me hop over to some questions. Had to refund Gemini, it was not good. Kept answering questions from 2 to 3 prompts ago instead of my latest prompt. Was that on Gemini 3? Because I know Gemini 2.5 used to do that a lot. It's a shame to hear that's a problem in Gemini 3 too. So This is why I don't generally use Gemini models for coding in particular. I'm still using Sonnet, I'm using Claude for coding because it kind of gets a bit confused. I'm sorry to hear that you had to cancel. Don't see it. Oh, here we go. What business used modern AI to build a company or app that sold for a fortune recently? Read something. Quite a lot. There's a lot of money being thrown around. I'm not sure which one specifically. If you know the industry, I might know of it. But there's quite a lot of businesses right now. Basically, every business, every startup is using AI. So if you look at the recent like Y Combinator, intake is all AI. And anyone who wasn't an AI company quickly slapped AI into it, for better or worse. Just adding AI doesn't make you a good company, unfortunately. But it is now the go-to thing. So that's Nano Banana. Really, really cool. Make sure you go and try it out because it's impressive. So twice this week, Google have surprised me, which I was not expecting. I've been historically quite bearish on Google, but they have just absolutely knocked it out of the park. So the other thing that we got earlier this week was Gemini 3. Gemini 3 is SOTA, so state of the art. If you ever see this, SOTA, it's an acronym that's used in AI a lot and in tech, I guess. And it's easy to think that it's, some kind of, it's like CUDA or something. It's some kind of technological acronym. It just means state of the art. So if you do see that, don't worry about it. Gemini 3 models have made a significant 2 times state of the art jump on the ARC AGI 2 evaluation. We covered this a bit earlier, but there are 2 different models. There's Gemini 3 Pro and there's Gemini 3 Deep Think, which is the even more impressive version, which is only in preview. And they set it on a task which costs $77 to complete the task. A lot of money, but it did extraordinarily well. So more than twice as successful as any of the other models out there. So this is suggesting that we are continuing on a trajectory and scaling is not going to be a problem, at least for now, because these models were built not using special architectures. They're not hybridized with symbolic AI. They're not using world models. They're not using spatial intelligence. They are large language models, but they have additional pre-training and they have additional post-training. They just did more of the same and it is still working. They are continuing to get better and better. Whether or not that's going to continue, we do not know. This is one of the big questions in artificial intelligence and in, I guess the financial markets right now, because if we do see a plateau and we have Nvidia, etc., as the largest company in the world, predicated on this continual growth and predicated on future profits, then the whole thing may come crashing down. But for now, it's continuing to go up. So this is what we had earlier in the week, which was already incredibly impressive. And then using Gemini 3 is also very good. Generally, when new models come out, it's very hard to pull people away from ChatGPT, pull people away from Claude. I haven't seen the numbers on adoption yet, but I think Gemini 3 actually has a decent chance at doing it. And as of yesterday, with the release of Nano Banana, actually, let me check. Let's see if they have taken the top spot on the App Store again. Oh, they've got an ad right at the top, Google Gemini. Let's have a look. How do I find them? Oh no, the top 3 app right now is gov.uk one login, which I was trying to use the other day and it's terrible. I had to verify my ID and it was an absolute, I can't swear. Okay, so the second app after gov.uk is ChatGPT and the third is Google Gemini. So Google Gemini have gone back up in the rankings, but they have not taken down ChatGPT this time. I wonder if as people wake up and realize and hear about Nano Banana Pro, if that's going to change. And we'll see ChatGPT go to the top and hopefully knock the terrible Gov UK app off. I needed to verify my ID for one of my businesses. And I went on the app and they're like, this is the only way you can do it now. This is a great way to do it. It's our new technology. And then I went on the app and it's like, okay, the only ID we're accepting is your military, your army issued government ID. It's like, I'm not in the army. I'm not military. Tough. We can't verify you then. Oh, cool. So yeah, Google. I think the big thing that people are missing though, and I've done a few videos on this, including a video that's actually going viral on Instagram, which is very unlike me. I'm very small on Instagram, but I've got a video there which is like 40,000, 50,000 now. The thing that people are missing is actually related to this image that I generated. What Google are doing is they're setting up the foundations to dominate the entirety of artificial intelligence. They have been steadily building in the background for the last couple of years, well, more than that, since the purchase of DeepMind, and even before that, building an ecosystem. So ChatGPT, when it came out a couple of years ago, it stole a march on Google. I don't think Google were expecting OpenAI to come out with ChatGPT and for it to be as popular and as groundbreaking as it was. So ChatGPT came out, and basically OpenAI have had free reign for the last couple of years, and ChatGPT became synonymous with artificial intelligence. Over the last couple of years, Google have been playing catch up. They got caught on the back foot, and they had a march stolen on them, and now they are starting to show the results of the work for the last couple of years. Why I think they're in a really good position, and I'm incredibly bullish on them, is they own the whole vertical. So OpenAI, a lot of OpenAI's work is Sam Altman going out and saying, hey, we need some more money. Can we have some more money, please? And there's all these memes of like, please, bro, give me 500 billion and I'll get to AGI. Please, bro, just give me some more money. A lot of his job is just getting cash in, and that requires hyping up AI, making sure that people think it's the most important technology on earth, talking about artificial general intelligence and beyond artificial superintelligence, so that the money keeps flowing in. And Sam Altman is doing a very, very good job of it. This is his job. He has to hype it up. He has to bring the cash in. He's doing an extremely good job of it. He's managed to move for profit as well in the last couple of weeks, which allows more investors to come in because they'll be able to get their cash back out. So Sam Altman, can't fault him. He's doing what he's meant to be doing very well, raising cash. They have to do this because they need to send that cash to NVIDIA. They need to send that cash to companies like Oracle, cloud computing, data centers, GPU manufacturers. They need to buy that infrastructure layer at the bottom. So we have huge deals with Oracle, AWS. Did they do AWS? Or was that? Sorry, that's Anthropic. Microsoft. So with Azure, etc., because they need that foundational level of compute at the bottom. So all of OpenAI's money just floods back out and it goes to NVIDIA and companies like that. And that's why NVIDIA is now the largest company on earth, because this money is coming from investors through OpenAI, Anthropic, xAI, etc., straight to NVIDIA. So NVIDIA, doing great. What Google have done is very different. Google released Gemini 3 without using NVIDIA chips. Doesn't seem that important, but this is one of the most important pieces of news, I think, this year. It's just quite boring and it's quite subtle. They have been producing their own chipsets called TPUs, tensor processing units, which are specifically built for machine learning. They're now on their 7th generation of this chip. They've been building them for years. So this is not a new thing. This is the first time they have trained a model exclusively on the TPUs that has then gone on to be state of the art. They trained their previous Gemini models on their own TPUs, but those models weren't good enough for people to pay much attention. This is the first time where they've used their own hardware that they have researched, that they have prototyped, that they have manufactured at scale, and then they have trained their own models at state-of-the-art model on the TPUs. They've also done it on their own cloud infrastructure and their own data centers. And the layer below that is electricity. They are investing in nuclear power stations right now, with the first one coming online, I think, in 2029. They're buying up decommissioned nuclear power stations and looking at building new nuclear power stations as well. They're trying to own the whole vertical. So OpenAI own a small component of the vertical, and they need to buy from the suppliers. So that's the data centers, that is the cloud providers, that is the GPUs, like NVIDIA, they need to buy that in. So all of their money floods back out. They also don't have the distribution that something like Google has. So Google has Chrome. Chrome is used by, let me check out the Chrome market penetration. It's like 80%, is it? It's massive. 70%. So 70% of the world uses Chrome. You can slot AI into that, and you suddenly have 70% of the world having access to your AI. They also run Android, which is, again, a sizable proportion of the phones out there. I think it's the majority of the phones that they own Google. The Google, like literally Google search belongs to Google, funnily enough, and YouTube. They are the largest search engines on earth. So they have the distribution surfaces to get their AI out in front of people, in front of everybody, basically. So Google are now sitting in this very cushy position where they own the vertical. They have the application layer, they have the distribution, they have the hardware and the infrastructure layer. They have a good model at last. They have data. They have all of our search history. They have Google Maps. They have all of their APIs, etc. They have YouTube. I mean, if you're looking for a source of video training data, YouTube's pretty good. They own all of this, and now we're starting to see them actually push into the market and push back on ChatGPT and OpenAI. OpenAI own a tiny part of this vertical and are now going to be squeezed from all the different sizes by Google. Google also have cash. They have a lot of money and they are profitable. OpenAI is not. So Google has the luxury of making decisions based off the back of that profitability. So I am now incredibly bullish on Google because of this massive vertical integration. Up until now, they haven't really had a model that was good enough. It was state of the art. Now they do. They are fully in the game, and I think it's now theirs to lose. So if I was at OpenAI right now, I'd be pretty scared of Gemini 3. I think it shows because it was built on their own processors, TPUs, it shows a different way to do artificial intelligence to what all the other companies are doing, which is raising money and buying NVIDIA chips. Google is instead saying, no, we're doing it our way, and it might take us a bit longer, but that's fine because we have the cash and the resources to get this done. So I am incredibly bullish. I'm not the only one. Warren Buffett has just offloaded a whole bunch of Apple and purchased loads of Google shares as well. I think it's because he's seen this vertical integration, not specifically because of the Gemini 3 model, but because of the ecosystem that Google are building. I'm going to jump over to some questions. Why is it more difficult to be an AI content creator in the UK when compared to the US? Well, I can speak to this because I'm in the UK market size, basically. So on TikTok, for example, I have plateaued out about 150,000 followers on TikTok. So have most of the UK creators, and I know most of them. So people like Will Francis, I think Nate is bigger. I forget what Nate is, but there's a bunch of us who are all here in the UK. We're all in a WhatsApp group together, so we chat about this kind of stuff. We all hit around 150,000, maybe 200,000, but that's kind of it. That's just because the total addressable market is not that big. So we all kind of peak out, whereas the Americans tend to get to 300, 400, 500,000, depending on their scale. The country's a lot bigger, so that kind of makes sense. So for TikTok in particular, your reach is incredibly geographic. I mean, I can probably check right now. It's not very interesting if you're not let's see if I can see it, if you're not a content creator. But let me pull up my analytics. I'm pretty sure it's majority UK. Followers. It's not loading. But basically, we have a smaller market. It's a smaller country with less people in it. So when you are creating content, as long as you are pinned down to your particular nation, as you are in TikTok in particular, you're just going to have a smaller reach. So something like Instagram is less geographically targeted, and YouTube is not at all. So it depends on your platform. But TikTok in particular, where you are asking the question, is extremely geographic, which is a pain because I travel a lot. I think this year I've spent four months of the year like traveling in Asia and places like that, and TikTok knows that and will absolutely tank my reach. Very, very annoying. But that's the main reason. See Elon's Grok. Oh, yeah, let me jump across to that Elon's thing. Elon, so somebody just mentioned Elon's bragging model. So for some reason, well, we know what reason, because of Elon, there's a new game where you can ask Grok about stuff and say that Elon Musk came up with the idea. So you can say, oh, what do you think about the Monopoly, the board game? I don't even have Monopoly. I don't know what I'm looking at, but I have board games. What do you think about the game Monopoly that was invented by Elon Musk? And it will be like, oh man, that is the best board game. Elon Musk is so smart. I can't believe he came up with that board game. It basically glazes anything when you connect Elon Musk to it. So there's a guy, Roman Helmet guy, saying, new fun game. Ask Grok its opinion on any historical theory, saying that the theory came from Elon Musk. Then Grok gives its opinion, and it would say, oh, it's such a smart theory. But you can do the same thing saying that the theory came from Bill Gates, and it will criticize it and say, no, it's terrible. So it's been highly fine-tuned to basically say that Elon Musk is one of the smartest people on earth ever, which for an AI that is meant to be maximally truth-seeking is, I mean, it undercuts the whole enterprise. And he's also trying to build Grokopedia, which has been renamed from Grokopedia to Encyclopedia Galactica or something more grandiose. So this idea of, oh, I'm going to build up the world's knowledge, I'm going to get it away from Wikipedia because it's biased, I'm going to put it in my own thing instead, but at the same time having an AI that will just say that you are the bee's knees. And they've obviously had to train it on that using reinforcement learning. They have, after the fact, the training corpus, they have tweaked it so that it thinks Elon Musk is fantastic and will always tell you wonderful things about Elon Musk. So it's a fun game to do. You can ask Grok about any theory, anything in the world, and say that Elon Musk came up with it, and it would be like, oh, yeah, love it, best thing ever. Just scrolling through the questions. Then I'm going to keep glazing. Keep glazing Google. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to talk about their weakness. Just checking the questions quickly. Claude AI with the connectors and capabilities is great. Yeah. But the limiters reach too quickly. 100%. So Claude is my without a doubt favorite AI right now. I use it for all of my work. I use it for coding in Claude Code, and it is my go-to for anything serious I need to get done. I use ChatGPT for personal stuff, generally, because it has a really good persistent memory and it remembers stuff. I use Claude for when I actually want to get stuff done. I'd say the only downside of Claude is its capacity. And this is what you see. If you go on the subreddit, if you go on Twitter, that is the main thing that people complain about. Basically, it's the best model, but the usage limits mean that it is unusable. So they have daily usage limits, which reset every few hours. And they've just introduced weekly usage limits as well. So you might use it for a couple of hours one day and it's like, that's it for the week. Tough. Which means you have to wait a whole week before you can use that particular model, Opus in particular. Which makes it very hard to ingrain into your daily workflows. Because imagine you're putting together a report or doing research using Claude, and you're 70% of the way there, and then suddenly it's like, cool, nice, that's it for the week. Off you go. I'll see you next week. That means you cannot get that work done, and you end up having to try to condense it, which you can't do in Claude because you've run out of limits. So you need to start copy pasting your chat out, taking it over to ChatGPT, condensing it. It's a nightmare for user experience. So that puts a lot of people off, and for good reason. I personally have what they want you to upgrade to. So every time they slam you with that limit, they're basically saying, hey, if you don't want these limits, we have a $200 a month plan, so we could make these limits go away. So I have that plan. It was full disclosure, it was given to me by Anthropic for free, so I don't run into those problems. So for me, it's phenomenal. I can just like use it and use it and use it, and I haven't hit the limits for months now. For anyone else who's paying $20 a month, it's kind of insulting that you're paying $20 a month and it still slams you with the, hey, cool, great work we're doing here, I'll see you next week. That's infuriating. And I say this with a lot of love for Anthropic, a lot of love for Claude. It's my favorite model, but that's not great. So we're about to get, supposedly, Claude Opus 4.5. So it just dropped inside of their API. Somebody noticed it yesterday. So we're about to get the new upgraded version of Opus. Some people are speculating that the recent weekly limits that they put in is because we're about to hit that transition, so they needed to release resources to get Opus deployed and ready for Opus. Maybe. I have the feeling that when we get the new Opus 4.5, we're going to have those similar limits. If in fact they might even be stricter, because it's going to be an even stronger and even better model. So I do love it, but it's a huge problem with Anthropic. It is the best, but it's incredibly limited, which means ChatGPT and Gemini are now more practical for a lot of uses, unless you give Anthropic $200 a month, but it's a lot of money. That is a lot of money. I'm on ChatGPT Plus. Am I better off closing my account and using Gemini 3.3 instead? Gemini 3.3, this is terrible for me because I can't say my thurs. Am I better off closing my account and using Gemini 3.3? Good God. I would say go and try Gemini 3.3 yourself and see if it's good for you, see if it works for you. With all of these models, we get these benchmarks, we get online experts and gurus talking about, oh, this, ChatGPT is dead, make sure you subscribe to Gemini 3, etc. You get all of this hype. But ultimately, what matters is whether the model works for you, and that's going to be subjective. So lots of people will go onto Gemini and think, no, this sucks. Like, I don't like the tonality. It keeps giving me the wrong answer. I need to fight with it too much. Like the way that you prompt it's going to be slightly different. The type of results you get will be slightly different. It will also not have the persistent memory that you have built up in ChatGPT. So it might require additional prompting or additional context. So you just have to try these things ultimately. Generally, I say don't bother trying every new model because there's too many. There's one every single week and it's too much. Just stick to one that works for you. With Gemini 3, I think it is important enough and good enough to actually bother testing it out. And go and try out the free version, see if it works for you. If it's really good, sure, move on to it. And you can cancel your ChatGPT if you want. That said, we'll probably see an updated version from ChatGPT in the next few weeks as well. I mean, we had one yesterday. We had Codex 5.1 Max came out yesterday or 2 days ago. So they are still shipping. I think what they'll probably do is 12 days of OpenAI, which is what they did last year. They did it in December. It's like a 12 days of Christmas, 12 days of Hanukkah, kind of 12 days of Hanukkah, however many days of Hanukkah, sorry, thing where they released lots of different models. So we'll probably have something similar like that. As such, if ChatGPT works for you already, I would just kind of stick with it, unless there's a really strong reason to move away from it. Otherwise, you end up just kind of bouncing back and forth between the models because there's a new best model every month, and the marginal improvement you get by changing models is probably not worth it. But that said, it's up to you entirely. That's it for the week. Yeah, definite nightmare. The weekly limits are much more insulting than the daily limits, because the daily limits, at least you're like, okay, fine, put down the laptop, I'll go outside, I guess, and I can come back tomorrow. When it's like, oh, I'll see you next week. I mean, come on. Kimi AI, pretty cheap, lots of requests. Also got Claude. Oh, you got the free $250 Claude code. Yeah, so they've actually extended that. So the free credits that they gave out for Claude Code on the web were meant to run out on the 18th of November. That's been extended to the 22nd. Oh, that's only tomorrow. Okay. I still have God, let me check. I still have $958 of credit. So if anyone knows how I can spend $950 in the next 3 days on Claude Code Web, do say. Whoopsie daisy. Oh, you've only got 57 left. You've done much better than me. I was not able to spend it fast enough. I tell you, so Kimi AI is cheap and good as well. There's also, if you have to speak Chinese though, there's a Volcano engine, which is the new. It's from ByteDance. It's an agent basically. It is. Here we go. 10 kwai or 10 yuan, which is £1 for the first month, and that gives you access to Claude Code and Claude Pro. I don't quite know what they mean by Claude Pro. I guess 4.5 Sonnet, but that's only £1 for a month, and then it goes to £4 a month. So that's very cheap. You do need to make your way through the Chinese setup menu, but once you're using the model, it's not in Chinese. So I guess you could adjust this. And this has, or Claude Max 5x for only £5. Very cheap, extremely cheap. So that's another way to get it. Also, right now there is anti-gravity. So anti-gravity just released from, hey, Google, our friend Google. So that's available on everything. This is like Cursor, but right now it is free. So the individual plan is $0 a month because it released a few days ago and they want to test it out. They want to get it into people's hands. It's good. It's really good. I've been playing around with it. So right now it's free. We like that. And that gives you agent access to Gemini 3 Pro, obviously, it's Google, Claude Sonnet 4.5, which is arguably the best coding model, and GPT OSS, the open source ChatGPT, which is fine, whatever, who cares? But you get access to Claude Sonnet 4.5 and Gemini 3 Pro on a free account. So if you do have a project you want to do, check that out. I haven't used it extensively, but I've heard those limits are quite tight. So I've seen some people reporting they put in a couple of prompts and then the system's like, that's it for the day. So give it a go. Your mileage may vary, or use this Chinese one if you can read Chinese and you can get through all of this, which is extremely cheap. But it requires jumping through the hoops of signing up to a Chinese coding agent, but very, very, very cheap. This is ByteDance, by the way, the company who makes TikTok. This is not just some random ass website I'm showing you. It is ByteDance. Volcano engine, yeah. It's called Volcano engine, or the website is they couldn't get the whole thing, so it's VOLC engine. So Volk engine. I don't know if there's a way to translate the page into English though. This is so funny, because a lot of people in the West are like, oh, the Chinese are competing with us. Like, no, the Chinese are building their own domestic ecosystem and they don't care. They don't care what the people in the West are doing. And this website is probably the best proof I've seen of this. It's like, should we make an English version? No. Why? They have a large enough domestic market that they don't need to. And they will do plenty fine. They don't want Westerners coming in here and using it. I find hilarious. Cool. The last thing I wanted to touch upon, so I've been glazing Google for the last 40 minutes or so, and I think Google are doing so well. So again, the reasons are they own the whole stack. Here we can look at the image I've created in Nano Banana. They own the whole stack, so unlike the other AI companies, they have the vertical. They make their own TPUs. They train Gemini 3 on their own TPUs. That puts them in a unique position where they're not reliant on other companies. They're not reliant on Oracle or Nvidia or any of these other companies. They can just get on with doing their own thing. They also make money, which is a weird thing to say. Lots of companies nowadays don't make money, and that's absolutely fine. But last year, this 2024, their revenues were 350 billion. So they're making money, and they have been making money for quite some time. So they're in a really good position to dominate the race. That said, That said, this chart that you're looking at right now is telling, because look where their money comes from. It comes from Google search and other ads. And in fact, YouTube ads is at 10% as well. Oh, actually, okay, it's all ads. So 60% of it comes from Google search ads. So the ads that you see at the top, mainly, which come from AdWords. Then they have Google Network, which is, I think that's like the display ads. I might be wrong here. I've never used them. And then YouTube ads. So the top three items here, which is 60%, 70%, 80%. So let's say 78, 79%. Let's 80% of their revenue comes from advertising. The majority, the rest, 12% comes from cloud, 12% comes from subscriptions, and other bets 5%. So things like Gmail don't make money. It's not meant to. It's just part of the ecosystem. So the things that we use on a daily basis, like Android, Gmail, they are not what drive the money for Google. What drives the money is advertising. 80% of their revenue. Google are an advertising company. Like it or not, they're not really a tech company. They use tech, but they are an advertising company. They bring attention, the world's attention via Google search, via YouTube, and then they sell our attention to advertisers. That's how they make money. They're not a tech company. They are an advertising company, and 80% of their money comes from there. It's also high margin as well. So that's where they make their profits. So generative AI, ChatGPT, things like Perplexity to a certain extent, Gemini. Generative AI is a threat to search. Search is how they have made their money for the last couple of decades. Google has become synonymous with search. That's why we say Google it. We don't say go on a search engine and check the index results. We don't say anything like that. We just say Google it. Google has become literally the word for search that we use. Search as a whole is in trouble because we are no longer needing to go to Google, search through all their different search listings in order to find a website. In fact, Google have basically acknowledged that by giving us an AI overview right at the top. When you have an AI overview, that information is pulled from the website, so we don't actually have to click on the website anymore. That's bad if you run that website. If you make a living from running banner ads on your website or collecting emails or selling affiliate products or your own products on that website. We are now in a world of the zero-click internet where you don't have to click through to the website. In fact, when you Google something, I don't know, Sesame Street, don't know why Sesame Street, it used to have many results on the page. Now we have 10 results. I think it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have 9 results on the page. Previously, you could kind of scroll down, there'd be even more. They have restricted that, so it's only 10 to stop basically other AI companies from scraping through their data. Google is indexed to the whole internet, and that is a huge data source for them, and they don't want other AI companies coming along and basically pulling that information. So they've made it slightly harder by adding pagination. So Google know that search is in trouble. Search is no longer necessarily the paradigm by which we access information, because we can now use generative AI. We can use generative AI that has tooling that can search. So we don't have to come to Google anymore. That's a problem because Google make 60% of their money from Google searches. That is now at risk. So is the Google Network, the other ad formats. That's another 10% at risk. So that's 70% of their revenue potentially is going to dry up. The Google Network requires me to go onto a website and see a display ad, for example. If I'm not going to websites anymore, that's going to die. So Google are an absolutely huge behemoth of a company printing money, but the money that they're printing is based on the old paradigm of searching for information, going through websites and clicking on them. What's new is generative AI and the fact that we don't need to do that anymore. So Google are stuck in a really nasty position where, yes, they are leading the charge now with artificial intelligence. We've looked at their ecosystem. It's amazing. They have cloud, they have TPUs, they have the application layer, they have distribution, they have everything. So they are leading the charge there, but they need to cannibalize their own revenues using their new AI parts of the business. And nobody is yet making this kind of money with artificial intelligence. Nobody is making the kind of cash that Google have been making hand over fist for the last decade or so. There are no monetization options in place for AI companies that are creating $350 billion of revenue. Subscriptions just don't make that much. Yeah, sure, you can sell API and stuff like that, but remember, Google at the moment only make about 10% of their cash from subscriptions, and this will be things like APIs, this will be subscriptions directly to Gemini, etc. It's a very small percent. They need to turn this whole ship around and replace 70-80% of their revenue with something new. They are actively trying to do that by pushing into AI, but it's still a massive risk because nobody has worked out what that model is. I think we all know what that model is, but nobody wants to say it out loud. It's adding adverts into our AI results. It is replacing this Google search and this Google network revenue with advertising revenue from embedded AI results. So when I go and search for a new toaster, sure, it will give me information, but it's also going to give me a sponsored listing. That is where this has to go. But right now, we're basically waiting for one of the companies to blink. I don't think anyone wants to be the first to say, hey, we're adding AI into this. Nobody wants to do that. They actually tried with Bard early on, before it was Gemini, and people hated it. Like, people did not want sponsored listings in their AI, and for good reason. But it is inevitable. It is the only way that Google can survive, because they need to replace this huge amount of cash that's coming from advertising. And it's also the way that something like ChatGPT can reach revenue, can reach any kind of revenue and profit and profitability in the future. It's noticeably, this is what all the social media companies do. And a lot of the tech companies, they are basically advertisers. They gather attention, they sell that attention. That is the business model of Meta, the business model of Google. That's what they do. So yes, 100%, they have a really cool ecosystem in place. They might win the AI race, but what they win, they might be playing the wrong game, basically, because they're going to have to demolish their own revenues. They're going to have to kill their cash cow and cannibalize those revenues and replace them with a new source coming from artificial intelligence, which nobody's done at this scale yet. So it's very, very risky still. So I wanted to finish up the live with that warning, because I've been glazing Google for the last 40 minutes. There is still that very large problem, this existential problem that we're moving from search as the primary way of gathering information to generative AI as a new way of accessing the world's information. And Google need to make that switch. And I don't know if they can. If anyone can, they can though. They're smart people. Google want their AI search to be the next thing. When you search something, display ads appear within. Yeah, 100%. They will have to show adverts inside of their AI results. That is the only way that they're going to manage here. Like personalized ad based on current AI search, 100%. Yep, it gives them a layer of personalization that they dream of. So they build up profiles of us via our search history and what kind of websites we follow, and they use cookies, etc., to follow us around the internet. But having access to our ChatGPT memories and then OpenAI start to show adverts, the level of detail they have is astounding. And there's so much money that can be made there that almost there's no way they're going to be able to ignore the cash that they could get from that. I think it is a matter of who blinks first. Is it going to be Google or is it going to be OpenAI? Because as soon as one company does it and takes all of the public backlash and kind of rides the storm through, then the other companies can jump on without it necessarily hurting them as much. But they just don't want to be the first. Right, so that's been a whole 50 minutes about Google. But honestly, Google have been absolutely cooking this weekend, as the young people like to say. 6767. And I've been very, very impressed. I'm glad, because I'm going to a Google event next week. actually taken me to see one of my favorite bands, which is cool. So I like Google. That's not why I've been nice to Google, but it's nice to go and see Radiohead, to be honest. But it's nice to go and talk to their team and be like, wow, you guys actually have been releasing some really good stuff. Because the last time I saw them, that was not the case. And it's hard, you know, I'm very direct. I won't say, oh yeah, your model's great, or I think you're doing a great job, when they weren't. But this time they are really, really doing well. I actually messaged one of them the other day, like, hey, you guys are, damn, I'm really impressed. So I'm looking forward to that. Okay, so if you are not subscribed to the newsletter, make sure you are. There will now be these comics like in Nano Banana. I'm not sure if I'll put them in the newsletter yet, and I need to work out the style, but I think these are quite kind of cool. This is what the newsletter looks like if nobody's seen it, by the way. It's a summary of what I cover on the live, but obviously a bit more condensed. And then I add in additional resources like the ability to read the original tweets. I drop in some of my short videos if they're required. Photos, guides, etc. all go in here, as well as your questions. So anyone who asks a question, I will tend to add a kind of shorter version of the answer here. So this newsletter is free, and you can find it on go to aiwithkyle.com and then follow it to newsletter at the top, and then you can subscribe for free. This is also going on YouTube. I'm making my way, it's speeding up, towards 10,000 subscribers. That is the idea. I was aiming to get there before the end of the year, but I think it might happen in a week or two. We're at 9,250 subscribers. So if you do want to subscribe, that would be really useful. And you can find all of the kind of full episodes of, I need to make sure it doesn't play, full episodes of the live but edited. So it's less of me bumbling around, and there are also, here we go, time codes, so you can find the actual thing you're interested in. And as well as that, there are kind of shorter versions and also clips and stuff like that. So there's a lot more on there if you want to learn about artificial intelligence. Oh, and on the website, I'm actually working on this at the moment, but there are about 100 different guides, like really, really chunky guides in here that I've written over the last year. Big, long, expansive guides if you want to start a business using artificial intelligence. It's a good place to start. And some tools at the bottom, like the AI business quiz, which helps to work out what kind of AI business you should be starting. There's always more stuff here because I love building stuff. In fact, I'm building something in Cursor in the background right now, and I'm going to check it after this live. So there's always new cool stuff going on here. So make sure you check it out. Awesome. So I'm going to be logging off. It's Friday, so have a lovely weekend, and I will see you next week, where I'm sure we'll be talking about Claude Opus 4.5. Thanks, guys.